Heaven's California.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be reacting to a Mr. Nightmare video that was released a day or two ago. I don't know, I forgot. Or a few days ago, but it's about 15 and a half minutes long. 3 disturbing, true unknown creature stories. So, I don't know if it's just like really like creatures, just some kind of, I don't know what to expect really, but we'll see. Let's get into it. That definitely looks like some kind of creature. What the hell? It's kind of freaky if you ask me.
So this happened on a camping trip with my girlfriend Alicia, my best friend Rodney,
and his girlfriend Amanda. My dad told me about a perfect place to go camping right by a big lake surrounded by dense forest.
That's kind of creepy.
A trail from a nearby parking lot would lead straight to the lake.
I mean, that looks really pretty.
The directions were straightforward, and it was actually easy to get to the lake. We got there as the sun was on its way down and the sky was turning that beautiful orange. The lake was calming, and the sound of the breeze hitting the leaves was peaceful. We had our tent set up, and there was still a hint of orange in the sky, though it was very dark in the woods by now. There was a slight orange reflection on the calm lake. It was very warm out, and Amanda suggested we all jump in the water. I was kind of up for it, as my dad said it would be perfect to jump in. For that reason, we all brought towels. The girls seemed more eager than Rodney and I, though. The two got into their underwear and walked into the lake, exclaiming it was actually warm. I told them I'd go in after setting up the campfire at least, since we had already gathered some wood. Starting the fire proved to be especially difficult for me, because I just couldn't get the wood to catch. I'm not exactly a Boy Scout. Rodney took over, and as I watched him try to start the fire, one of the girls started screaming and flailing around in the lake. Amanda looked just as confused as Rodney and I. Then Alicia went underwater for a few seconds, and Amanda started to scream she's drowning. I took off my shirt and ran as fast as I could into the water. But when I got to where she was, the water was only up to maybe my waist. I saw her arms still flailing out above the water and splashing about, and I pulled her up above the water. I yelled, "What the hell happened?" She didn't answer right away and ran straight for the campsite, seemingly out of breath. Halfway there, she turned and yelled, "Get out of the water." Amanda and I looked at each other and listened. As I began moving out of the lake, I felt something strong grab around my ankle and try pulling me down.
Oh shit.
There was a sharp, piercing feeling cutting into my ankle as well.
Ow, what the hell?
I yelled in a panic and kicked whatever it was with my free leg until I was able to break free. We made it back to the campsite, and Alicia was already sitting down on a cooler, putting pressure on an apparent wound on her ankle. I sat down on another cooler and checked my ankle, and there was a deep but small gash on the right side of my ankle, which was pouring out blood.
Oh.
I told Rodney to get us both some Band-Aids for my first aid kit in the tent. After patching up the wounds, we felt more relaxed and at ease. We just wanted to figure out what the hell that was that grabbed us.
Well, you should get out of there too.
I said it might have been an eel. Rodney questioned if eels even live in lakes like this. Alicia said it didn't feel like an eel or a fish. It felt more like a claw. I got chills as she said it, because I got what she was saying. But how would that make any sense?
Yeah, claw.
Regardless, we stuck around because whatever got us was in the water, and we were on land. Nothing could happen now.
Okay.
By this point it was dark out. The sun was completely gone, and the only light was from the fire. We were a couple beers deep, talking about life, about mutual friends, and occasionally bringing up that thing in the water again. All was well, until a splash came from out in the water.
It's back.
We all looked over our shoulders at the same time, out to the pitch-black lake. Probably just a fish, we figured.
Yeah, okay.
We resumed conversation for a few seconds.
Until?
There was another splash. It didn't sound like a little fish jumping out of the water. It sounded like the kind of splashes you'd hear when a person is walking through waist-deep water. The girls wanted us to go check the lake, so Rodney and I took a couple flashlights and went to the edge of the lake, where we were still hearing noises.
Be careful, do not go near it.
The 2 lights pointed at the water. We scanned the calm surface of the lake, until Rodney stopped me and said, "What is that?" I looked at where his light was pointed. There was this object in the water, Well, at first I thought it was an object, but then I realized
It's
it
eyes.
resembled the head of some creature. Definitely not any kind of creature that would live in a lake. It seemed like it was just sticking its head out of the water.
That was
You
kind
could
of
see the
creepy.
reflection of its eyes. It was looking at us. Then it moved, as it rised up slightly out of the lake, making another splashing noise. That's when Rodney and I screamed "go" to the girls. I remember Rodney saying take all your important stuff and go, which
And
was
get
a
the hell
smart
out.
idea. I took all my valuables and left the tent and bigger things. We ran back down the trail to the parking lot, packed the car, and took off down the parkway.
There you go. Perfect.
The next day, I returned with my dad to collect the tents, but everything that we left in the campsite was destroyed. The tents were shredded, the coolers were scratched and thrown across the site. I told my dad about the creature in the lake.
The hell?
I showed him the gash in my ankle and asked him what could have done this. He said he had no earthly idea.
I have no
We
idea
left
either.
in a hurry. None of us
That's-
ever returned to that lake.
That's kind of terrifying, to be quite honest. Like, what is that? Story 2 narrated by Corpse Husband. Okay, gotcha.
My house sits next to a nature preserve on Long Island, New York. I live alone most of the time, besides when my girlfriend who lives out of state comes to visit.
Okay.
Well, I can't say I live completely alone. I have 2 German shepherds, Tate and Moose. They sleep downstairs by the back door of the house. Last week, for 3 nights in a row, I would wake up to the 2 of them barking in the middle of the night at the back door. The
Something's
first
there.
night, I just peeked from the door window into the yard, which was empty. The second night, I actually went outside to the patio to look around, but there wasn't anyone there. On the 3rd night in a row of waking up to barking, I told myself that was it. Someone was creeping around my property every night, causing my dogs to go crazy.
Yeah, because the dogs aren't going to
I
visit you
put
after
Tate
no
on
reason.
his leash and took him out to the yard. Weirdly, he seemed more calm now that he was outside. He wasn't barking at anything. I walked him around the backyard and by the tree line to the woods for a little bit, trying to help him pick up on whatever the 2 had been barking at the past 3 nights. Then he started. By the tree line, he started tugging on his leash and barking at something in the woods.
There it is.
Obviously, I couldn't see too far into the woods as it was nighttime, so I let him lead the way into the woods. If someone were to be trespassing on my property every night, I figured the best way to scare them off would be having my dog chase after them. Tate kept pulling and barking as we got deeper into the woods.
You know, he
I
sees
was starting
something.
to lose my breath just trying to keep up with him. He seemed to be really locked into something specific in front of us. But eventually Tate stopped pulling and barking, and just stood there with his ears bent back, as if he were in a defensive position. He suddenly looked scared, as if he was looking straight ahead at something. I tried looking ahead into the dark woods, but I could only see so much. There was this cracking of a stick or small branch a little ahead that confirmed there was a presence with us in the woods. I took this as a time to call out. Whoever's out there, you need to stop trespassing on my property. If you don't, I'll either unleash my dogs on you or call the police. Whichever I feel necessary to do. There was no kind of response or signs of acknowledgement. Just another crunch of a twig or stick being pressed into the ground by something. Once again confirming there was someone or something standing maybe 10 yards away. I whistled to Tate to follow as I turned us around and headed back to the house. Tate kept looking back every 3 seconds. I'd have to pull him forward just to keep us moving. But then I heard a footstep close behind us, and Tate started to growl and bark again. It was now that I truly started to feel threatened. I didn't have my phone on me, I didn't have my flashlight, my only sense of protection was Tate.
The dog.
Then there was this sound, this unexplainable sound. It was this clicking type noise mixed with this humming sound, almost like a giant bug. Tate started going crazy again. He was barking and pulling, but I held him back. I kept looking at what he was trying to lunge towards, and I finally saw something.
What?
There was a set of glowing eyes, only the eyes were set very high off the ground, not down low like from a cat or a raccoon. I
What?
started to run back towards my house now.
The hell
I
is
could see
that?
the light from my back patio shining through the trees now. I made it through the tree line back to my backyard. I ran Tate to the back door and let him inside. I turned back to the trees at the opposite end of my yard and I just stood there, listening and waiting for anything. A rustle in the bush made me turn my head about 20 degrees to the right. I saw a figure standing in the woods near the tree line. My patio light lit up the outline of the body somewhat. It looked like it had the shape of a humanoid-like figure, but it was crouched down, kind of
Oh,
hiding
shit.
behind a little bush.
That's
It had
terrifying.
extremely long-looking arms in comparison to the rest of its body.
That is terrifying.
And on the lower half of its face, all I saw was black, almost resembling a big gaping mouth. I keep saying it because I knew what I was looking at couldn't be human. I went inside, shut all the blinds, and took my dogs upstairs to my room. I reported an unidentified creature in the preserve to the police. I gave my best description on the phone, and the woman on the other end asked me to call back if the person or creature were to actually enter my private property. Basically, calling the police was for my own peace of mind. But they didn't send anyone. I've been having my dog sleep in my room with me since last week, and there have been no further sightings since. I'll update everyone if anything changes.
That's weird though. Like that looks like it looks like a human with some kind of mask, or just some kind of like I don't even know what. It's just some kind of creature.
My wife and I have lived in our Chapel Hill, Tennessee farmhouse for over 15 years.
Damn.
And for 14 straight years, nothing out of the ordinary ever happened.
Wow.
Our kids have all moved out. It's just me and the wife in the house now. February of 2019, bizarre things started happening. I woke up in the night to my wife shaking me. She said she heard a noise outside the window. She wanted me to go check.
Is there no blinds?
I simply walked over to the window, lifted it up, and had myself a look outside.
No blinds?
It was chilly out there, so I didn't want to be looking outside for long, but the coast was clear. I shut the window and assured my wife it was okay, then crawled back inside.
It's not okay because you don't have a curtain.
Before we could even fall asleep again, there was a noise that made both of us sit up.
So you both
Sharp,
heard it this
but
time.
quick click at the window. My wife is no scaredy cat, but she grabbed my arm, clearly worried. She asked me to take the shotgun out there and see who it was. I told her to relax, and I checked the window one more time.
Well, bring a gun just in case because you never know.
Shocked to find a small scratch in the glass from the other side.
Oh shit.
I said, "Honey, look at this," and she came over. She put her hands over her mouth and said, "Oh my." What did it? We didn't have a clue. Must have been some big animal, I figured. The next morning, I went outside to inspect the outside by the window. There were no footprints in the dirt by the side of the house. Nothing strange at all outside, actually. So we move on to the next night. It was a rainy, warmer night for February.
Still no curtains.
My wife and I tucked in under the sheets again, and once again there was a sound that could be heard over the rain outside. It was this scraping type sound, muffled of course because it was coming from outside. The sound seemed to be moving closer to the window, then it stopped. My wife and I, sitting up again, looked at each other, and she didn't even have to tell me to go outside this time. I took the shotgun from under the bed again, put on my raincoat, and ran outside as fast as my old bones would allow. My wife turned on the light in the bedroom, which gave me enough light to see these huge scrapes in the vinyl siding. They looked exactly like claw marks, and I looked down into the mud that I was standing in. I noticed these big feet marks that stopped right before the window, and then turned back in the direction of the woods. I analyzed the marks the best I could, even though they were quickly washing away from the rain. These didn't look like marks from boots, shoes, or any animal that I knew of. It looked like these huge footmarks with claws on the ends. We don't have black bears where we live. 15 years here and we've never seen one.
Exactly.
So this just made no sense. I suddenly felt unsafe being out there, even with the shotgun. So I hurried back inside. I told my wife there's some big animal out there, and that as long as we stayed inside, we were safe.
Are you sure?
We don't have blinds on our bedroom windows, as we don't need privacy from anyone. No one comes out on the property anyway. All I could do was tell my wife to go to sleep. The next night was where things really took the turn for the worst. I woke up around 3 a.m. My wife was still asleep.
The ghost hour.
I sat up, thinking I might have heard something. I realized it was chilly in the room. I looked at the window, and it was open. But that wasn't the first thing I noticed. The first thing I noticed was the head, leaning through the open window into our bedroom.
Pardon me?
My best description of the head? Inhuman. From the size and shape. It was bigger, and this had a more conish shape. I As for facial features, it was just too dark to see any, and it all happened too quickly. I let out one big scream, the type of scream I hadn't heard leave my own body in decades. I went under the bed for the shotgun, but by then, the thing at the window was already gone.
What is that?
My wife was screaming in reaction to my scream. I ran to the window to slam it shut and twist the lock. I told my wife we're sleeping in our son's old room that night. Believe it or not, this was almost a year ago now, and that creature, whatever it was, has never returned.
Not
And
yet.
for 3 straight days, that thing kept coming back to our window.
It's so
On
weird.
the 3rd night, it was halfway into our bedroom.
That's definitely weird though, because like you notice a creature, like a sound, you look at the window, it's like, okay, something's there. Whatever, it's an animal. The next night it's kind of like, okay, this is kind of weird. The 3rd night it's like totally insane. Like, okay, well, first of all, you need blinds. I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're in the city, which obviously I am, but always, like, you know, you can't just not have blinds. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like wouldn't you be like, what if you're like it's a bedroom, you know? Like, you know what happens in a bedroom, right? If you know what I'm referring to. That, plus you also change in your bedroom, so it's kind of like, at the same time, yeah, I guess no one's really there because like it's a private property, but at the same time, it's still kind of like you would feel uneasy, just like, oh, like, you know. And plus, what about in the morning when you get up? Like, what if you get up and then like you just wake up because when it's morning or like daytime, like you guys probably noticed from videos, but obviously now it's dark outside, but like normally it's like super bright, like even with this, like through the cracks, I kind of wake up and I'm like, oh, it's so bright. Like, how do you even, I don't know. It's none of my business, so I don't care. If you want to die, have fun, but, or if you want to not have privacy, okay with me, whatever. But I don't know what to really, like, for any of these videos, I don't know what to really explain, like, I don't know what to really, like, think of, as for creature-wise. Just some kind of unknown creature that's, like, not even like, obviously it exists, but, like, just some kind of creature that no one even knows exists. I don't know, it's weird. Definitely weird, but I'm glad everyone's okay, and hopefully they remain okay, and hope those creatures or whatever they are go away. But yeah, this is why I don't go camping. For the first try, this is why I don't go camping. I don't know how people do that. It's dark out. Like, obviously at nighttime it's dark. You're in a tent. You can easily open it. Someone can easily set it on fire, destroy it, anything. It's not safe. Like, I don't care. It's not safe. It's just too scary for me. Like, I'm a little chicken, so no. I would not, you know, no. Nope. Anyway. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and that's about it. Peace out, guys.